Hey guys, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We usually go live, but what we're going to be doing is a little bit different because we don't have the internet power right now to go on our usual live adventure on Thursday from 8 to 10 p.m. So bottom line is I'm actually going to be recording this and then uploading it, and then you guys will be able to see the details from the video. Now, I will be taking phone calls, I will be going to the Ukraine details, and I will be going to the topic of this video. Let's get right to it, but before that, first remember to like, subscribe, and leave 5-star reviews. If you're not sure how to leave 5-star reviews, please Google the law firm Disability Resolution Law Firm, and then go ahead and leave a 5-star review right there. That would be perfect. Now guys, we're going to get into this topic of how does the SSA find out if you are somebody who is potentially faking their disability benefits, or, you know, basically you claim that they were more severe than they actually were. Let's get right into it. First off, social media is the absolute easiest way for the SSA to go ahead and search details about your life. You post a bunch of stuff up there, photos, videos, etc. They can see it. But remember, a lot of you will say, oh, well, you know, I have it on privacy mode, so they can't see what I've got on there. That's not how it works. They can get a warrant so long as they have enough information to go ahead and follow up with it. And then they can see into your private accounts with Facebook. Next thing, number 2, the entrance into and out of government-based buildings where you're tagged with facial recognition. Now, a lot of you guys think that facial recognition is like this way out there technology, right? 1991 was when it was started. It's amazing now. And so basically, think about that. 1991, that was the Bush era. That was like Desert Storm. 1992, that was like Barney the Dinosaur. 1993, that was like the Power Rangers. That's how old we're talking. We're talking older than Barney and the Power Rangers. So that's when that was started, okay? Number 3, entrance in and out of low privacy expectation zones. So under the Constitution, you have a privacy, expectation. So if you're in your home, they can't go into your home unless they have certain, legal allowances. But in this case, in these particular areas, you don't have those protections because you are in a low privacy expectation zone. So for example, entrance in and out of things like airports, certain schools, jails, national parks, near government bases, stuff like that. Bottom line is they can go ahead and use that same facial recognition software to go ahead and see who you are because you have a lowered standard of expectation when it comes to entering into those zones. So the actions that you do in those areas can very well be, stored and then used later by the SSA to go ahead and see whether or not you actually are the disabled person that which you are claiming you are. Number 4, CDI units. CDI unit investigators are those local and federal investigators that the SSA hires to go and follow somebody. Go ahead and check into what that person is doing, figure out what their schedule is, etc. So kind of the bottom line with this whole sequence is, when they've got something that they're looking at, they can send somebody to go and investigate you. Now, some of you are absolutely paranoid because they're only going to go ahead and investigate you if there's a reason to do it, right? They're only going to spend money on you for an investigator if there's a reason to back it up. And a reason would be like, you've got a side gig where you're not reporting income, or, basically you're doing something illegal on the side, or whatever. That would give them a reason to go and investigate you further. But a lot of you guys are just paranoid. You're like, they're investigating me. I can feel their eyes everywhere. That's not the reality. Okay, next one. Number 5, statements on the short form, long form CDRs. A lot of you guys will get these in the mail. You have continuing disability review. You're sitting there going, I don't want to lose my benefits. And then all of a sudden you start writing all of these crazy out there statements. When you answer statements on these forms, think only answer the question that's being asked. And answer it as if you were talking to a police officer, somebody that's linked to the government. Answer it specifically with the information that they are asking about. Don't go on a story. Don't write out 3 additional pages. Only specifically with what they were looking for in that question. Okay. Number 6, old applications for disability benefits can be key for them to find little nuggets of evidence to go ahead and search about you once their ears are perked up. They could go back and look at what your old hobbies are. They could go back and look at what your favorite bands were, etc. Stuff like that. So just be aware, those documents, they are in the government, probably most likely for the rest of the time. They say that they get rid of them after a certain amount of time, but I don't know. Sometimes when I go into the ERE, I can download some very, 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 very old documents. Okay, next one. Number 7, statements from friends. When the SSA seeks statements from friends, they usually send out what's called a 3380. You can just Google search it and see exactly what it is. A 3380 is basically a form that gets these statements as to what your capacity to function is in a home-related environment. Are you able to interact with pets? Are you able to interact with others? Are you able to watch others? Are you able to get along with authority figures, etc.? All these different things. Can you do cooking, cleaning, laundry, paying bills, whatever? All of those different little things that you might do at home. As a result of that, what that means is that they basically are getting a statement from somebody who may or may not really know you. But that person usually likes to say the best about you because that's your buddy. Right? So the bottom line is they're going to say that, yeah, okay, yeah, you can do okay, yeah. All that kind of stuff is going to add up to perk their ears to basically do a larger investigation. Next one, bank updates. Number 8, bank updates. All of a sudden you have a $10K deposit in your bank account. That's interesting. Where did that money come from? That's something that could perk their ears to see if maybe you're not as disabled as what you claim you are. Maybe you're working a side job. The side job made a mistake, made a deposit instead of paying you cash. Something like that. Number 9, the Google map where you are living shows a jet ski in the front yard. Google Maps, where you're living, what's going on. All these little investigations, and they could be in just the intro stages. They could be once they have a warrant, things like that. But all this stuff is fair game, when you have those different legal procedures open and available to the Social Security Administration. If you're receiving Social Security disability insurance, if you're receiving supplemental security income, they are looking to see if you are still disabled. That's why they have these CDRs, okay, which are continuing disability reviews. So Google Maps, they go on there, they see all of a sudden that they've got a picture of you working on a car where you're like, in the engine bay, something like that. All right, number 10, you show tickets to a show on your Instagram, a show where you were standing for 4 hours in close proximity to others, okay? Maybe it's hippies, maybe it's rockstars, whatever, doesn't matter. But the point is, you were basically sitting there for an extended period. And as a result of that, they could use that as evidence to say this show is this long, you were there, blah, 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 and then what's your evidence against that? What, are you going to get the DVD and see when you're in the audience and when you're not? Think about that. Because you're probably going to be in the audience for a lot of the show, other than that 10-minute bathroom break you took. All right, next one, 11. You end up on a pet adoption list that gets submitted to the government. Number 12, you end up on a child adoption list that gets you submitted to the government. Number 13, a random hater filed a complaint against you claiming you aren't disabled with the Office of Inspector General. Ladies and gentlemen, bottom line is this: none of you are great at dating. None of you are great at dating, and as a result of that, you might at some point anger somebody immensely to the point where they just, want to ruin your life. And what they do is, for disabled people, they'll go ahead and call the SSA, Office of Inspector General, Fraud Department, and they'll make a report. And that report could put you through a decade-long battle to try and get your disability benefits back, okay? Those are a bunch of options of things that they could use to basically see if you are potentially faking your impairments. And if you were to break it down, the first step is, basically, are you up for a CDR? Is there open and available evidence that shows that they should do a further, deeper investigation? And, the classic thing that people always think about, and I didn't put it at the top, but I'll put it at the very end of this, is medical evidence. Let's say that, there's a medical report that the doctor says, you're not as bad as you were, or, maybe the doctor was wrong about prior diagnostic impression, stuff like that. Yeah, that's used. But that's not usually what you guys are worried about, because you're going to know if the doctor's saying you're not as bad as you used to be. And then your brain's going to be like, okay, maybe I'm not disabled anymore. What you guys want to know about are what are the little things? What are the ins and outs, the tricks of how they look you up, figure out if you are actually disabled or maybe a faker. Now, I want to be very clear with something. Abuse in the Social Security disability system was rampant if you go far enough back in time. There were a lot of people who basically were out there playing basketball with spinal injuries. There were a lot of people who were claiming anxiety, that were running all these drug rings and stuff like that. That world has largely died from what it used to be. There's still a few of them out there, but the world of that guy playing basketball and he gets off the court and gets into his wheelchair and rolls in front of a police car, that world has largely died. And as a result of that world largely dying, basically what we have nowadays is a systematic approach to making sure that people remain and are the disabled person that which they claim they are. And if they improve, then doing an assessment as to whether or not they are still disabled under the original rules that they were found disabled with, or if they have new impairments, basically seeing if all of those impairments equate to a finding of disability as well. So that's something you really need to think about with this whole structured review. Some of you guys are going to be watching this video because you're wondering, hey, what's going to trigger them to go ahead and basically do a better review of my situation? My suggestion is this. You guys always have a CDR somewhere on the horizon if you are young enough. You can always call the SSA and find out specifically when that CDR is. Also, very important, you guys usually know the stupid things to not do. Illegal activity, drugs, alcohol, stuff like that. So, for example, another one is if you have a medical report that's showing that you have drug abuse. If you have a medical report showing that you've been smoking, again, if you have a medical report showing that you're abusing alcohol. Do you self-medicate? You know, a lot of people, and I don't know why this is, I don't know what's happening in America, but a lot of people are just like, it's whatever. For some reason, they're, you know, originally it was like you should be ashamed if you're a lush, which is a heavy drinker. You should be ashamed if you're a smoker. You should be ashamed if you're a drug abuser. Now, the new thing is that they're pushing, you shouldn't be ashamed. You know, it just is what it is, but be safe about it. And I get that angle, but that angle does not consistently go through all the agencies, you know, in the government. Like the government could be like, you know, don't be ashamed of your crack habit. You know, don't be ashamed of it. Just do it safely. Well, let me tell you something. The FBI, the local sheriffs, the local police department, the Social Security Administration, all these groups, they would like to know if you're using. They would really like to know if you're using and where you got it from. So, you know, the point of don't be ashamed, be aware that, you know, and remember, the White House is not the agency. You know, they direct a lot of what they want it to do and stuff like that. But the outcome of what the agencies actually do is always very different than the great scheme that the White House of whatever presidency, whether it was, you know, Bush, Obama, Trump, or Biden, is actually pushing. And a lot of you guys, I don't know what the deal is, but some of you guys, like one of you guys blew up on me, wrote me this whole big email, just beating the hell out of me, being like, you know, remember when I made that comment about Roe v. Wade? I was like, Roe v. Wade is not going anywhere, but you never know. And then that person beat me up because he's like, what do you mean you never know? It's never going anywhere. And now look, Roe v. Wade, right? You know, remember I made that video where I was like, hey, Canada is getting rid of handguns for the most part. Yada, yada, yada. Went through the fact pattern, what the article had. And the person was like, America will never allow that to happen. That would never happen in America. We are constitutionally safe. Yeah, well, don't you think Canada has protections? Don't you think that they can change parts of the Constitution? They can amend it? Yeah, it's called an amendment. It's not always a great thing, especially when it comes to firearms, because a lot of those decisions are purely based on emotion. 100% based on, this shooting happened. We need to change everything. Emotion. Think about all the disabled and the retired people who are part of a class of individuals who are more easily attacked by people who want to steal things from them. You take away guns from those people, you just made the biggest mistake for retired and disabled people in the history of retirement and disability benefits. That's the bottom line. That is the only protection they have because they can't run away. All right, fine. You know, you'll find a 70-year-old that can outrun a kid that's, you know, in their 20s. Sure, you might find one. You might find one 70-year-old and one 20-year-old. You might. But 99.99999%, there'll always be some person out there that's going to send me an email, but 99.999%, that 20-year-old's going to outrun that 70-year-old, no problem at all. That's what you guys have to think about with a lot of these things. What is the real reason behind this? If a disabled person or retired person cannot run away, then they do not have the ability to, you know, basically comfort a lot of this agenda of, oh, guns, you know, you just run away. You just run it. No, you can't. You have to stand your ground and defend yourself. That's the bottom line. How are you going to do that? You're not going to do it with a knife. You're going to do it with the firearm. That's how you're going to do it. It's going to be a handgun because it's going to be small. You're going to have it on your body. It is not going to be a full-on rifle or a musket that you're going to whip out of your wheelchair. Like a little bit of brain power from a lot of people that send me these moronic emails. Just a little bit of thought. And what gets me upset about it is that people who think that they're trying to help people, they don't realize the great immense harm that they cause by just not thinking, not turning it on. And the problem inherent with that is that there's a lot of people in America who never turn the light bulb on. They never get past step 1 or step 2. I'm a chess player. I love chess. I'll try to think 10 steps ahead of where something is going. I never ask that of any of you, but I do ask that you make it to step 3. Because if you make it to step 3, you're going to be curious about step 5. And at step 5, that's where it really matters. That's where the problem leaves the country and it's got to be fixed somewhere else. That's where, the quick little thing you thought would work isn't going to work in the long term. Step 5. You get to step 3, you're going to start imagining step 5. You're going to wake up and realize I didn't think of that. All right. Now, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and take a couple of... Actually, I'm going to go ahead and reach out to our security expert. Then I'm going to take some phone calls specifically. We didn't do the traditional live today, but we still had some people call in. I'm going to call out to... good sir here, who's our security expert, and basically ask him about what's going on with Ukraine. So give me one moment. I'm going to go ahead and give him a call, and then we should be good to go. All right, perfect. Okay, let's see. We've got this rolling now. Let me see if I can get this good and going. Oh, it says cannot call, network error. Let me try it again. 1 second. Let me see if I can get him on the phone real quick. Okay, I'm not... Connection call issues. Let me see if I can change things on the phone to go ahead and make this whole thing work out. Let's see. It's just been a nightmare. It's been a nightmare with the internet. We're going to have Starlink soon. The Starlink that I bought, it worked for like a week and then it just died. So let me see if I can go ahead and make this thing happen again. I might have it this time. Oh, good sign. Good sign. We're going to see if we can make this happen. Hopefully we'll get through. Oh, the technology today has just been so bad. I just need Starlink because I'm up on the mountain in New Jersey. If you guys want to see the website, I'm still building it. It's www.rentnjfarm.com. Are you there, good sir? Oh, I guess not. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to try calling him one more time, see if I can get through. If I can't get through, we're going to go to the phone calls specifically for people who essentially called in before I had to hop off the live before. Let's see if we can get through real quick. And I'll let it go a couple of rings because, you never know when it's going to go through.
Ralph, final set, SAT 006, 006, description 4, 3.
Perfect, good sir. This is Walter. We are quasi-live right now. So the kicker was the internet was not working for us, so we're actually recording this not live, but we are going to be posting it directly after this. So I want to know what's going on with Ukraine at this point.
Evening, Walter. Great to hear from you again, as always. Thank you for sharing the opportunity. Things in Ukraine are at a new level of support. They're at a new level of attack. They are doing very well in defending their borders, their sovereign borders, as best they can, and we think that some of the support that they're receiving globally from some of their partners who believe in the sovereignty of being attacked and what the outcome could be and the support that they're receiving. Let's take a look at the war front. We have Russia approaching almost 100 days since it started February 24th. Russia is now trying to take the land north of Crimea, very, very near Kherson, with a goal of moving west towards Odessa. This would ultimately cut off the Black Sea access and landlock Ukraine. The Russian forces that are in that battle are losing ground day to day, taking between a kilometer and a half a kilometer, and then being pushed back yet again. What we're also seeing is the sanctions put on. This is the sixth set of European Union set of sanctions approved by EU ambassadors. This includes the ban on the Russian oil, Italy is still importing the oil, and this is not setting well internationally. China also is bringing in Russian oil, but that was a given. The plan here is not allowing that Odessa area to be compromised. That would cut basically Ukraine off and make them landlocked, but there's some pieces in play. When we take a look to the north, we have the Belarus-Russian northern border troops are now being sent south. And as they go, they're blocking roads to keep Ukrainians from breaching the Donbass interior border and all the way down south to Mariupol by the Sea of Azov, crossing over to Crimea. In each place, they're creating roadblocks. This is to prevent or dissuade Ukraine troops from trying to break that long landlock that they've been successful in achieving, meaning the Russians, and allow for free flow of support. Very interesting. They're still going to plan on the Ukrainians are still protecting the capital of Kyiv, and Belarus President Lukashenko just doesn't have the military leadership to attack Ukraine from Belarus, so he's does not have the support of the troops that are up by him. So we think that area will be not left abandoned, and Russia's plan to return to that area would be consistent with all their other conversations and troop movements, leaving an area and then just coming back and shelling it. Turkey has agreed to give the Bakhtar drones to France to be outfitted for use by Ukraine. There is a $5 million gift the French will use for outfitting for everything that those Bakhtar drones will need, including missile and rocket equipment for discharge over areas that they need to drop that, and let's get those unmanned air vehicles prepared for use by Ukraine. Currently in the north, about 800 people, including children, are hiding beneath a chemical factory in the key eastern Ukraine city of Syerodonetsk. That city is now 80% held by Russian troops. Western allies, Brits, U.S., promise additional missile systems and arms to Kyiv, but this fight going on in that city is very difficult. And ultimately, these 800 are hiding in Soviet-era bomb shelters beneath the Azot factory, chemical factory, not to be confused with the factory down in Mariupol. These are locals. They were asked to leave the city but refused, and as well as children, though not many did leave. And they're fighting in the streets. They're back to fighting block by block. With Ukraine forces have pledged to fight to the end in that city and maintain it. The British Defense Ministry said while the main road into the city remains under Ukraine control, Russia has taken most of the city, and they claim they're making steady local gains enabled by a heavy concentration of artillery. The Ukraine Armed Forces General Staff we've spoken with previously said the invaded forces were conducting assault operations in the city, and we're also attacking other parts in the east and northeast of the city. At least 4 civilians have been killed and 10 wounded there, and it's just reminiscent of the tunnels we saw down Mariupol on the Sea of Azov, southeast portion. And again, we have children involved here, and it's very difficult. But the children seem to be in good spirits from what our data indicates and our communications indicates. Capturing the city would give the Russian President Putin control all of Luhansk, the region with Donetsk making up Ukraine's Donbass industrial heartland. And it consolidates a shift in battlefield momentum from where his forces were pushed back from the capital in Kyiv in northern Ukraine. And again, here we're only seeing very small movements. Some are as small as 500 meters per day in either direction in the last few days. Ukraine has taken back the airfield at Vonov, which is just south of that city, the Syerodonetsk, but not by very much control. The airfield is not in a usable state at this time, according to what our verified sources in imagery has seen just in the last maybe 12 hours. The new weapons, the Hammer launchers, which have wheel-based transportation with armor on their cabs, we're going to talk about those in just a few minutes. They have a range of about 50 miles. They're incredibly precise, but they'll be moving into the area to provide support for Ukraine in that Severodonetsk area, as well as central Donbass, where the fighting is really intensified. Just north of Kherson, just north of Crimea, there were approximately 20,000 villages with 120,000 people in the area has been reclaimed from the Russians. Remarkably, this group of people crowdsourced 50 million euros.
Wow.
To buy just amazing, to buy Ukraine howitzer and other weapons. Just an amazing outpouring of support for those folks. Happy to have the villages back. Families are reunited. Very, very unique. Very unique, and that money's going to go a long way. Speaking of other weapons, no pistols are allowed in Ukraine. They are exclusively reserved for police and military. And as this war drags on, they actually took it to a vote whether or not people should be armed, whether citizens should be armed. And remarkably, 60% of those voted for an open market for pistols for citizens.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a game changer. We take a look at North America. We take a look at Canada. Canada is having a tough time with something similar, and it's kind of taken a different route with it. But let's stay with Ukraine if we can. A lot of the Ukraine helicopters that were being used to drop supplies, food, ammo, ammunition, weapons, whatever that was needed, that had been flying at low altitudes, have been taken down out of the sky by Russian surface shoulder-mounted weapons similar to the Javelins, and just in the last maybe 24 hours experienced a significant loss of both air ship support and supplies, and it's tough. It's tough for the Ukrainians. They are counting on the support of some of these newer weapons, and the United States of America has introduced a new attack drone. It's known as the MP-1 Charlie, also known as the Gray Eagle, and it has the ability to fire Hellfire rockets. The rockets were allowed to be shipped and supplied to Ukraine with some rules. The rockets have a range of about 50 miles, and the rules are they can only be fired at Russian troops that are within Ukraine and not strike deeper into Russian territory. Senior official speaking on behalf of an unnamed government agency said that it's a new $700 million assistance plan, which would include a M142 high mobile artillery rocket system. Now $5 billion in aid for security assistance is greater than what we've already been providing. President Biden stated this is a Russian attack on a sovereign nation. That's why the assistance from the USA and other countries are increasing in an attempt to end the war and stem the unprovoked attacks on them. Previous comments by the president that of the denial of long-range missiles, which are known as the LMRS, long-range missile systems, were walked back by the White House a day or two later this week. These options are under consideration, as reported by a State Department spokesman and the United Nations Ambassador, Linda Thomas-Greenfield. So that's the weapons that can fire more than 50 miles. But are we the only ones supplying? The answer is no. Germany is offered anti-missile rockets. The RSDI surface-to-air missiles are the most modern air defense system that country has, and they have donated a large number. The Poles have a column of Polish T-72-1 M1 tanks has entered the city of Bakhmut earlier today. That city and its administrative center, we haven't spoken about it much, and the Bakhmut Rayon is in the Donetsk Oblast of Ukraine. So It's on the northeast edge of the fighting now, and these tanks rolled in column actually earlier today. Estonia is sending anti-aircraft missiles, but in the meantime, Snake Island, it's been an ongoing source of controversy and bombing, has now turned back to Russian control, and they have very quickly placed ground-to-ground missiles and ground-to-air missiles on the island. Today, Switzerland vetoed the Danish request to send armored vehicles that Switzerland was using and no longer using. Very, very frustrating on the vote. And Estonia has now indicated they've sent more than 1/3 of their entire defense budget.
Wow.
To support, to support Ukraine. We have the UN humanitarian chief met with Russian officials to enable Ukraine and Russia agricultural exports through the Black Sea due to the global food crisis. The UN spokesperson, Stephanie Durak, indicates the Undersecretary General Martin Griffiths met yesterday and today with no resolution, and they're trying to put together a package deal to allow this food to leave the ports, not for sale, but for delivery to countries that are desperately needing it. Some third world unnamed countries are listed here, but we'll leave it that way. Griffith's visit to Moscow followed a visit to the Russian capital and by the Secretary General of the UN Council on Trade and Development, and ultimately they're focusing on getting Russian grain to global markets. She ended up leaving with no commitment, return to Washington, and just they're doing the best they can to move the food, if you will, out of these ports and get it to where it's going. They did see a lot of positive coming from the various capitals. They appreciated the role. I guess Turkey is now involved in trying to mitigate and negotiate. Poland offered to assist in exporting the grains and wheats in an effort to support the Ukraine economy and allow the supply chain to work from the farmers to the ports for recovering the costs. And more importantly, those needing the food that's on those ships. President Zelensky lastly announced 20% of Ukraine is now under Russian control. And one of the hard pieces we've got just in the last few hours, maybe 2-3 hours, is over 200 plus children have been deported from Russia to Ukraine without tracking. And many have been sent to remote areas as part of a quote unquote criminal policy. Heartbreaking to be concerned for those children. Some families who fled from the war from the Black Sea communities, including Mariupol, are stuck in the community of Zef and seem to be living out of their cars as the battle just rages around them. They would like to get out and move on, and the roads are closed in all directions, and they can't get out. And there's probably 2,000 to 3,000, 2,300 to 3,000 people literally living out of their cars in the woods because there's no way to get out. One of the upsides that we do have here today, now I'll save that for last. Let's see, we have a lot of data inbound, and some of it's still raw because it came in very late. Tasmania, I'm just going to go down this list of what's being reported and validated, and the software is just grinding through it. Tasmania, they have a shortage on solar products and a sharp rise in pricing for anything to do with solar. Exit interviews from where that was being witnessed. Number 1 was preparing for grid down. Number 2 was self-preservation. Number 3 is they didn't want to talk about it. Seattle, Washington, Walmart, more than 2 locations combined in this data report. People are loading up their carts with products, paying for it, and walking out of the store with the products and the shopping carts. So far, nothing unusual here, right? Some folks have been seen taking the shopping cart off the premise or loading the cart onto a platform, trailer, or truck bed. More than 10 carts witnessed being removed in under an hour, with 3 different locations reporting. Like, it's the oddest thing. They're taking the carts home. Interesting. So, in 2 reports of 3 trailers at one location, 2 at another at a Walmart, completely empty in the parking lot. Concern is that there's not enough drivers or not enough supplies to need the trailers. Huntsville, Alabama Walmart, repeated shortage over the last few days in chicken, bread, eggs, and bacon. Hamilton, New Jersey Hamilton, New Jersey real estate price dropped $25,000 on a group of homes. It's unknown if it's a single investor. Pennsylvania, statewide, depending on where you live in the United States, in state of Pennsylvania, a 6 to 45% increase in electrical rates are being reported from 7 locations. USA, coin change shortages. Signs posted outside many retail outlets indicating a need for loose change. I don't know where that's coming from, but apparently when your till is so low or your register is so low, I guess you got to figure it out. Philippines, no more disposable silverware or disposable plates, cups, knives, nothing but disposable is permissive any longer. And produce and beef prices are soaring. Next, we have prison food is experiencing shortage in supply chains. Prison officials indicate they're moving towards calorie count food items similar to calorie bars to ensure minimum standards are being met until supply chain issues are resolved. Interesting. Mid-Atlantic area senior planning officials, large master plan community of 1,000 homes. They verified the electric company stated there is a 36-month lead time for electrical transformers. Some models have gone up 10 times in cost in the last 60 days.
Wow.
A large unnamed electrical organization for underground electrical transmitters ordered 150 units. Over 1 year ago, they report as of today they've received only 5. One of the folks I work with, one of the groups here in the shops, his father and mother-in-law, my heir, went to have blood drawn at the local lab. They could not draw the blood due to shortage of blood tubes.
Wow.
Austin, Texas, due to housing shortage from new arrivals from California, New Jersey, and New York, and other states. Currently, it's $1,000, $500 for a one-bedroom, and housing sales are averaging over $100,000 offered over asking price to secure a home in the area.
I got to ask you, with all of those details, and I mean, that's great that they're state-specific. I got to ask you, I mean, if the war were to end in Ukraine, with Ukraine winning or Russia winning today versus 100 days from now, what would be the best scenario where the retired and disabled would be put in the best possible position going forward? I mean, do they win if the war ends? Do they win if the war continues?
Great question. I think there's other variables involved. We're seeing everything. Let me throw a few more in here to give it the total view. Based on this influx, this goes back to Austin, and we don't know why we got so many from Austin, so many data reports. Road rage and aggressive driving is on the rise, as well as property crimes. Emergency calls for law enforcement, police, sheriff, can be as long as 12 to 15 minutes or longer due to a shortage of personnel and a sharp rise in residents. 4 to 6 hours is for non-emergency calls. Auto parts in the south, south of the United States. I have 3 reports government wanted to buy all the diesel exhaust fluid. It's also known as DEF.
Yeah, DEF, yeah.
In the store. The follow-up is they bought all the DEF for a 60-mile radius from multiple retail sellers.
Wow.
And that was probably due to concerns about a shortage. Auto repair shops, 3 weeks wait is not unusual. And due to labor shortage, rates are as high as $120 billable hour for brick and mortar plus utility companies. They're indicating a 5 month to 8 month wait for a new RAV Toyota Ford.
Wow.
The restaurant workers shortages that didn't return make it incredibly difficult to continue operating restaurants in North America and some Central American areas. Ontario, Canada, shortage of fuel at Shell gas stations with low or no gas at all. Upper Peninsula in Pennsylvania, Walmart increasingly displaying empty shelves with low or no inventory. Iowa, major wind engineering factory closing in 2023 due to no parts and no orders.
Wow.
Coming back to major diesel equipment, 6 months or more for parts. And Caterpillar is a big player in that market.
Yeah.
Caterpillar brand. Prices going up a minimum of 16%, and labor is going up a minimum of 10% starting in July 1st. And then we have some what I'll call sad news. A high-level logistics manager for the largest bourbon and whiskey distillery in the United States reports bourbon production is decreasing due to labor shortages for both bottling plants and warehouse employees, shortage of long-haul truckers, problems getting raw materials, including corn, barley, wheat, rye, and other flavoring products, and a low supply on glass and cardboard for bottling and packaging. All this is driving the finished product pricing up. Unbelievable.
Wow.
So we look at some of the impact here, and we're going to see it heavily. Several people were reporting being in the Sam's and BJ's Club just over the last maybe 10 days. And one of the things they're finding is their inventory is just overwhelming the building. They have more inventory in the building than they can handle. And the reason for it is the boats all got offloaded. They sourced it over by tractor trailer, and it gets all dropped off. But a lot of it's 2020 and 2021 stuff. So how do you sell it?
Right.
And if you've got a mark, especially electronics, right now, if you're looking for an electronic item, anywhere from 19 to 32 inches all the way up to 82 inches, the savings are just dramatic. Again, you may end up with one that's a year old, but depending on what your use is and how well it works, this is a great opportunity. And again, it's off-season for a lot of places. They like to have the Christmas out in the summer and the summer stuff out at Christmas, and I don't want to say they missed the boat because it's a bad pun, but truly this is what it's at. This is what it's at. So it's very, very, very difficult. Very difficult. I challenged a couple things, and they went back and verified and got photos. Why are people taking home the shopping cart?
Oh, I can answer that one. What they do is they pull, yeah, because I know the homeless that do that. What they do is they pull the casters off, and then they have a secondary market, and they sell the casters. And then when it comes to the baskets, usually they just use them to store stuff in the woods.
Oh, there you go. I figured maybe it was a new ride at Disney, or somebody had a bicycle and
yeah,
that's the trailer,
yeah.
You can wagon train them together. No, and I'm not being joking. Let me tell you something. You can get your hands on a bicycle right now, they're worth their weight in gold in a lot of places,
Yeah.
especially if it's tuned up. Get an extra tube just in case something goes wrong, and it's out of control. On a happier note, I don't like to throw a sports piece in, but it was just pretty overwhelming for a lot, and especially for Ukrainians. God bless them. Their quest to qualify for the World Cup soccer in the middle of a war moved past the first hurdle today with them overcoming Scotland with a win of 3-1 late Wednesday night in the playoff semifinal. Now they need to win just one more with one more game to reach Qatar at the finals. So there is some. Here they are in the middle of everything going on, and they're trying to return life to normal. And it's interesting. It's just the heart of the people has been there for some time, and it's hard. It's hard. We're seeing the supply chain yesterday, day before. We had traffic. We had the feed come across that Kentucky gas stations were without diesel.
Wow.
And if it doesn't get on the truck, it's got to get on a truck. The truck has to have a driver that's qualified.
Yeah.
There's got to be enough fuel in it. They've got to get it to the right spot. Other employees have to unload it. It has to be sorted. It's got to be priced. It's got to be added to the inventory, put up on the shelf to be sold. Those are a lot of steps. It's a lot of steps. Still keeping an eye on everything from monkeypox to the bird flu. And the statement today or yesterday, days are blurring together. Our guys got to get some sleep. But the grid system, the electrical grid system, has not been upkept to handle the climate change in our countries, inclusive for Canada, inclusive for the United States. Britain had some areas. When we look at the map, one thing they didn't want to do is point any fingers, because that's going to come down the road. And we see it where it's a plan that you're going to have a real hot summer, everybody's going to be out of food.
Oh, we lost you. You there? Oh, we lost him, and it looks like the phone, I'm not sure what the deal is there, just reset. Let me see what's going on here. I'm not sure. The phone just totally reset with an apple. So I don't know what happened there. We're just having a bad technology day. That's what we're doing. The questions I wanted to ask him, and I'll go back and ask him this. Is it really the war in Ukraine that's causing this, or is it White House policy? I've been doing research, and I saw the whole 9,000 open leases for, basically oil and things like that. And then I researched a little bit more and found that they had all these restrictions. I'm finding that a lot of the reasons we're having food issues, oil issues, transportation, fuel issues is a direct result of White House policy, as opposed to essentially this whole Russia-Ukraine situation. I'm going to see if I can catch him up real quick, get him back on the phone. We lost him there for a moment, but kind of the bottom line here, guys, is that I want to know if this war ends, right? If it just ends, how is that going to affect the United States? I think that's incredibly important. I think it's an incredibly direct question, specifically for the retired and the disabled. Let's ask him real quick. We can't get a network together. Jeez Louise, guys. All right, so for some reason I can't seem to go ahead and get the phone to work. I'm having a total technology just crap out today, which is unfortunate. But all right, so bottom line is this. I can't reach through to the call with that. I'm going to see if I can go ahead and reach out to somebody else who called in to go ahead and have their answers or questions answered. Let me see if I can get somebody to connect real quick, and then we'll go from there. If we can't, then we know it's just there's a tower down and I can't access it, which is why my stuff has been working. All right, so bottom line is this. Guys, unfortunately, that's the end of the show with that. So bottom line is the questions we need to ask ourselves. Is the White House currently working towards creating a better existence for the disabled and retired? If the war in Ukraine were to end tomorrow, what would happen? Would the oil flow better? Do we need Russia's oil? Do we need Ukraine's oil products? Are we starting to lose our grasp on Middle East, gas, natural gas, things like that? Is it all falling apart? What happens when we need lots of food and we can't get it into the stores? What happens when the United States becomes so destabilized that many middle income are becoming low income and many low income are becoming homeless? At what point do we lose our homes? At what point do we see more stimulus money? At what point do we see a fix to this? I think the $10,000 student loan forgiveness is a good start. That's how these things usually begin rolling. But for somebody like me who started out with $500,000 in student loans and is now down to like $330,000 in student loans, when people tell me, they're like, well, what about all those people who paid off their student loans, blah, blah, blah. Let me explain. I will never realistically pay off my student loans. I pay $1,800 a month right now. I could increase that to $3,000 a month and pay them off. But I'm not going to. I'm not going to. And the reason why is that $1,800 a month of a slave trade system that is owned by the federal government is something President Biden spoke very heavily about ending. 10,000 is a start. Let's see where it goes from there. Now, with all this said, these are the ways that the Social Security Administration could potentially, basically do an investigation. We went through them. The main things that you should be concerned about are the paper trails and digital trails that report directly to the government. Be careful about what you post online in media sense, photos, audio, video, etc. Live photos. A lot of you guys don't realize that there are these things called live photos. If you, touch them, manipulate the photo will show you more of what the person is doing. So while you think you're just taking a photo of that thing, they can play a little strip of that photo as if it were a video, and it shows you, doing a jumping jack. Be careful. I'll catch you a little bit later. I'm sorry about the technology all failing tonight. Have an absolutely wonderful night. If this video is helpful, please remember to like, subscribe, and leave 5-star reviews. Thanks so much, guys. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.